Welcome to a quick chat with the one and only NHRA Pro Mod standout, Doug Winters. Good afternoon, Doug.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm well. It is only morning. You're right. I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you so much for your time. Firstly, we wanted to catch up with you on a few points, all hinging around this crazy thing called NHRA Legal Pro Mod. It's certainly been a very exciting first 4 rounds so far this season, and none more than the last one. But we'll get to the last one last. So you're a full-time competitor in NHRA Pro Mod. You're doing the full pool this year. Tell us a little bit about that from your side of the world.
Yeah, so we've been doing now the full pool for NHRA for now going on probably 6 years, and it's beneficial for us with our sponsors to be there, to be part of the NHRA, the national events, to entertain VIPs and customers at those events. So it's kind of a commitment from us with our sponsors to do the full circuit. So we're doing the full 10 events again this year.
Okay, awesome. And of course, that is very much made possible not only through your own family's hard work and pocket, but your great sponsor, Steiner Industries, are heavily involved with yourself, but also stepping up for the whole class at the moment.
Yeah, Craig and Robin, they've been great associated with being part of the NHRA Pro Mod. Sponsored the Steiner race last year at Brainerd. So they were presenting sponsors for the Pro Mod series there at Brainerd. I'm going to do that again this year. So he's going to be the sponsor for that as well. And also they've helped the class in promoting another company of theirs called D-Wagon that they've now acquired, that they're going to use as the presenting sponsor for the whole series. So now it's the Fuel Tech Pro Mod series presented by D-Wagon. So they've stepped up and helped the class, not only helping us, but they're helping everybody associated with the class.
And helping everyone move around as well. I mean, it's a pretty good fit, their product, the D-Wagon, into the NHRA road racing scene, I guess.
Yeah, it's a neat concept. It's basically a people carrier you pull behind a golf cart. They're on display at every one of the NHRA races that we're at. So feel free to take a ride around the midway and look at them and take advantage of them. And they're pretty cool apparatus.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's enough about that. Let's get to the burning question. Stevie Fast decided he'd blow up the world last weekend. We all saw it coming. I think we knew that he's the sort of guy that'll put the work in. And going back a step first, when NHRA announced the screw blower, it was not met with a lot of love, to be honest.
No, it wasn't. They asked all our opinions, Indy of last year, and we all said to pretty much the T, don't do it, But NHRA thought that it would help them bring cars in, because now if you look around all the other series, PDRA, Midwest, Northeast, Pro Mod associations, everybody there pretty much has a screw anymore, and they have rules to let those screws compete with roots. So their thinking was letting in the screw blowers would increase the car counts at the Pro Mod events in 2022.
Bring some of those guys across from the other sanctioning bodies.
But it hasn't. I mean, I stand Shelton, but he was coming anyway. He wasn't really. I mean, he's at PDRA. He came over, but he still runs PDRA, and I think he was going to run a Roots anyway. But when the screw became available, so he really didn't bring him in to run a Roots. I mean, to run a screw, he was going to come over anyway.
Yeah, he just brought his screw with him once it was legal.
Right.
And of course, he did really, really well at Charlotte right up until the final round. He got lost on the start line, and I don't envy you guys going 4 wide. I mean, it's all easy and fine to say in the pits, number 3, that's my tree. But you get out there with all of you professional eyes, the crowd looking down on you, the heat of the moment, and once you're lost, I imagine there's no finding your way back.
No, it's a challenge, but especially like you said, lanes 2 and 3 in the middle lanes, you got to look across the trees. But I made it a point when I'm backing now, I kind of do it all the time anyway, when I'm backing out from the burnout, just to make sure I can see the tree. So when I back across the beams, I see them flash, and I know that's my beams. So,
Gotcha.
Not only am I making sure that I can see the pre-stage and the stage bulbs and where the groove Alan's got me lined up at, but I also reminds me that, yeah, my tree's over here, not over there. So it helps out as well.
Okay, that makes sense. You're triggering that light. You know exactly where you are. Okay, cool. So yeah, he showed up to Charlotte, put a great performance forward, made the final. Who knows what would have happened if he had been able to stage it correctly? But I think that sort of put a little bit of a squash on the, it's not going to run. It's not got enough overdrive. It's got too much gear. It's got too much weight. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Out he comes, and certainly no disrespect to Stan, but a bit of a new kid on the block. Like he's not a stalwart of NHRA Pro Mod racing, and he goes very, very well with the screw, making the final, as I said.
Yeah, but when you get Steve Petty behind you and Proline, with the common with their resources and trying to figure it out, and they figured it out. Hands off to them for doing that. But they put in the time and the effort, and they proved that it would work. So when they did that, because a lot of guys even before that, and I think Steve will admit as well, he didn't think it was going to work. And some other guys tried it as well, and they couldn't figure out how to work. But they just didn't put all the effort into it to make it work because the roots were so familiar to them. Whereas Stan looked at it as a blank sheet of paper, and Petty did, and they went from there and found out how the combination could work.
And it would be very remiss of me not to say that, of course, it was a Australian designed 4.9 Noonan in there, so that helped them. That helped them as well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So obviously that opened the door, as you said, made people look a little harder at the screw. Because before we go into that, take a step back. Was there some? Obviously, there was a camp that said it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But were there some camps that were like, oh, here we go again? The Pro Charger. I'm going to talk to Chris Thorne a little later today, hopefully. 3 out of 4 wins. Second season of the Pro Chargers running away with it. Was there any feeling that, well, as Wes Buck says, if a screw charger turns up, it destroys everything else? Was there any chatter around that side of it?
Not at the time, because Stan was right in the middle of the pack, right? Yeah, upper echelon of the pack, but he wasn't blowing everybody away. So, the other combinations, Ricky running nitrous and with Tyler Miller and all those guys, they were right there with Stan. So it was, it was like, okay, well, maybe NHRA did get it right as far as the rule set, because Stan was out there competing with us, and in the middle of the pack, he wasn't leading the pack. So it was like, okay, well, this is cool. So but on the flip side of that, I think it turned into people saying, hey, maybe we can even do better than Stan's doing with this, i.e. Stevie Fast.
Yeah, okay. Well, you touched there on NHRA getting it right. I mean, I've got the point standings here, and you'll know better than I, so correct me if I go wrong. But we've got Chris Thorne, Pro Charger, obviously leading substantially, over 100-point lead with the 3 wins out of 4 races. Second car, the totally non-competitive, they'll never be able to keep up nitrous car, Ricky Smith. Steve Jackson got a foot in both camps. He's won some points with a screw and won some points with the roots. Yeah. Lyle Barnett, twin turbo, comes in at 4, and Stan Shelton, screw blowers 5. So anyone who wants to argue that NHRA aren't doing a good job, they've got a fairly steep mountain to climb.
Yeah, and they continue to look at the data, right? And they're not only looking at, who's leading the points, but they're also looking at each qualifying session, the weather based on it, and, the average of the car class associated with that power out, or how they're doing it compared to the other ones. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Ricky's the only nitrous car out there, so we have to take him as the standard for nitrous. But you have 4 or 5 Pro Charger cars that they look at, and we have some Roots cars, and then the screw blower cars, and then the one Lone Wolf as well with Lyle Burnett and the turbo car. So they're trying to keep it a level playing field as best they can.
Okay, so the points play out that it's a level playing field. Obviously, not all of us are privy to that intimate data of what each Pro Charge car's running in the splits you guys get at the end of the day. Pro Charger sort of got snuck up on in this latest rule change as well. I mean, the big hullabaloo, all the noise was about Stevie Fast and 257 miles an hour, 570 flat with a 1, right, using the screw. But when they brought out the screw rule, they've also hit the Pro Charger with a 500 RPM limit.
Yeah, and that's caused some angst with the Pro Charger guys, as you can imagine. Any car that you put in, any car that is potentially hitting a rev limiter at 9,500, in a quarter mile could be a lot detriment to the engine. And I understand their concerns, and they're going to have to do a lot of research and spending money on converters and gear ratios to make sure it doesn't hit 95. And as far as that goes, as you know, with rev limiters, sometimes they start kicking in around 94. 93, 80. So it's not a complete, 95 and it just shuts the motor off.
Yeah.
It starts kicking in before it hits that 95. So they're concerned with that as well. So, but it is what it is. We'll see if NHRA adjusts that rule for them associated with it, and to help them out as well from destroying things. Because NHRA don't want anybody to hurt anything. They're just trying to draw them back and make sure that, from a competitive standpoint, that everybody else has a level playing field.
Understood. And slinging more weight on them is not a safe option either. I mean, they're already too heavy. E
and if you look at the SFI certifications as far as the chassis, they're right up against the level that is good for the 25E certification for the chassis. So they're right up against that. They can't add any more weight. So maybe something next year they'll look at reducing the size of the supercharger, so they don't have to have that much weight on them, because NHRA doesn't want them to have that much weight either. So they're trying to figure out how to pull them back without all that weight on them.
Understood. Now, your supercharger, you're still running a Roots. You're out there. You're competitive, but you're down in 13th, I think, in the points. Sorry to bring that up.
Look on the positive note, though. If we had won one round somewhere, I'd be in 10th. So if you do the math.
There you go.
But regardless, yeah, we've had a tough start of the season. NHRA gave the 69 Chevelle 50-pound weight break at the beginning of the season, and we took advantage of that. But unfortunately, it's upset the chassis, and we're trying to get a handle back on it. We used to have great 60 foots with the weight and the setup that we have. We've lost that, so I'm trying to get all that back, and that's another reason we're getting ready to go test it here in a few days.
So you took weight out of the car, and it's actually hurt the performance.
It's hurt it from a setup standpoint, a chassis setup. We started kicking the tires off going into second gear. In the shake zone, started giving us issues. We've changed the 4-link setting to try to compensate for it. We've changed shock settings. We've done everything that we can. We've changed converters. We've changed stators to try to make it a little looser. We want on and on and on. So you're almost like, well, let's put the 50 pounds back in and get back into square one. But we don't want to do that. So we're going to figure out how to get the weight to where it is now to work with the chassis. And
you're about to take another 25 pounds out of it thanks to this rule change.
That's what it says, and that's what we're here at the shop doing. I'm going through a weight reduction program. I found a fire suit that actually weighs 2 pounds less than, so I bought that.
Okay.
We had some solenoids in the car that we're not using right now. Took those out a while ago, gained another 3 or 4 pounds. So I'm searching around the car what all I can take out to get close to the 25 pounds that they've given us now. So that's another challenge. So we're going to try to get the weight out of it as much as we can, and then go start from scratch and try to figure out the chassis.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully the extra 25 fixes the problem that the previous 50 caused you.
Yeah, well, the problem with the 50 was most of it that we could take out was on the back of the car, right? The wheelie bars went to carbon fibers and that sort of thing. So we used to have a pretty balanced car. Actually, it was a little heavier, like 50.5% on the back, 49.5 on the front. Well, that's totally reversed now, because I took all the weight that we had to get to the 50 pounds out of the rear. It turned into a 51-49. So it's 51% in the front and 49 in the back, and we're trying to get that balanced out, which is hard to do as well. Lighter zoomies and you name it up front that we're trying to get rid of to make that balance back.
Okay, and you want it at 50-50? That's the ideal setup for your car?
I think I'd like to have it back where it was, at 50.5 in the back and 49.5 in the front. I don't think we'll get there. We're working with fuel as well. We usually run a 10-gallon fuel cell in the car. So, and we can fill it to whatever gallons we want, but there's a slosh factor in there. So we're looking at getting a smaller fuel cell to reduce the amount of fuel so it don't slosh around as bad, to reduce the weight there as well. Okay. So we got some plans to see if we can get close to that 25-pound reduction.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's talk about your sponsors race coming up and the D-Wagon Shoot-Out. I mean, this is some pretty exciting news for guys who there's been a lot of backroom chatter, I guess, around the fact of why the car count number has gone from 45, 50 to 17, 19 throughout this season and last. And one of the things that was thrown around was money. You guys weren't racing for enough. It's costing you too much to enter, blah, blah, blah. This would alleviate that for the upcoming race in Brainerd.
Yeah, it's not only is that, we've got together as a group and really NHRA's worked with us. Every dollar that we raise from sponsors goes back to the purses of the drivers. So none of it, NHRA's helping us do that. So we're almost at a level to where we can present $35,000 purse per event. And then on top of that, with the D-Wagon Shoot-Out, we're looking at another $25,000 on that Saturday event for the shootout. So Brainerd's going to be worth $60,000 purse come that weekend. So it's pretty exciting to have that big a purse spread over 2 days for the cars to compete against.
That's a very impressive purse. Very cool. Now, of your 16, I see you've got 3 alternates listed. Have you been in contact with these 16 guys? Are they all going to show?
They're going to try. Some of them's got conflicts, so we're working on trying to get those there. But as the rules state that we did with the D-Wagon, as long as you've got points and one of those guys don't show up, then the number 17th is going to get in. The number 18th guy is going to get in, and the number 19th guy is going to get in. So as long as you got points after Topeka, you're able to get into the shootout. So right now, if I had to guess, those 3 alternates will probably get in. So, but there are also cars that I hear are starting to show up at Topeka that's not even in the points situation right now altogether. And they're doing that just so they'll have points to come to Brainerd. So our hope is still that we'll have 16 cars showing up at not only Topeka, but Brainerd. So, because we kind of did the point situation leading into Brainerd to see if we could get a lot of cars coming into Topeka as well, because it's,
Gotcha.
Midwest show. So we're trying to get that car count up and fall over to the Brainerd race as well, since they're back to back.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So the midway point is obviously that's coming up. These guys can add to this. What have we got? 19, I guess, at the moment. So right. If anybody has got their Pro Mod in the shed and decides they want to go run for $60,000, they can turn up and get those points in Topeka and qualify. As you said, it'll be the 16 highest pointed cars on the property. Is that the best way to say it?
That's the best way to say it. Correct. So yeah, we're hoping that creates more enthusiasm for people to come out to Topeka and run Brainerd the following weekend.
Yeah.
For the chance to run for the 60,000 for the whole weekend.
Excellent. All right. What's your personal tell it behind the tool shed opinion on what is this rule change going to do? Are we going to see everyone unhappy? Are we going to see everybody happy? I mean, no one is. It's never everybody's happy at NHRA when you've got 6 power adders now, and one of those power adders has the nitrous has two different options within itself.
Right.
It's pretty hard to keep everybody happy, and if they're happy, that means they've actually got an advantage. So somebody else is not going to be happy. Where do you see this upcoming race landing performance-wise?
Yeah, well, Pro Mod's always been, everybody's never happy, right? Pro Mod, and that's something beneficial for the class as well, because you just, you don't want it to turn into Pro Stock where everybody's got the same chassis, the same motor combination, etc. So it's cool for the class to be that, but you're right, not everybody's happy all the time, and probably nobody's happy until the guy wins the race, and then he's happy until the next weekend when they get a rule change. So we're hoping that shows up in Topeka and Brainerd, that the Pro Charger guys will figure out the combination to get to that 9,500, or NHRA is going to do something to help them out as well. I don't know what that might be, but and obviously Stevie with the screw blower, they pulled that back to 65. Nobody knows what that's going to do. I guess.
Well, it wasn't going to work at 75, and that didn't quite work out the way they planned.
No, that's true. So, what's 65 going to do? I have no idea. I don't even think Stevie knows until he gets the car out on the track this coming week to see what it's going to do. It's a lot of more gear ratio, I guess, and who knows with the air that it's going to be in Topeka and Minnesota, 65% may really hurt him. I don't know. It's just hard to tell at this point.
And that's if he turns up with a screw, not turns up with the roots, based on he won, right? He got what he wanted. He went out there, he blew the scoreboard down and penalised the combination that's not his preference. And
well, what's interesting though, I guess you could have both, right? I mean, you could make one qualifying attempt on a screw, put the roots on it, and go make another qualifying attempt, right?
Well, I am going to show my age here. Bill Coolman.
Yeah, he had a nitrous motor.
He had a nitrous motor and a blown motor in one car. I think that's where Stevie's problem is. If I'm not mistaken, they are two separate motor vehicles, the screw car and the roots car. So he couldn't do that. But Bill literally took the nitrous engine out, put the supercharged engine in, took the supercharged engine out, put the nitrous engine in between rounds of qualifying and between rounds of racing. So it has been done. Yes, sir.
I'm pretty sure Stevie could change and put a roots on top of the screw blower car at this point if he needs to, but we'll see what happens. But it'll be fun and interesting to see how it turns out in Topeka anyway.
Yeah, very true, very true. All right, well, we better let you get back to your diet program and lose that 25 pounds and find that balance. More importantly, hopefully that'll see you at the pointy end up in Topeka.
Yeah, we hope so. Like I said, we got to get this thing back together, going testing. We broke a valve in Norwalk, so we hurt a head. So we got that fixed from MBE, sticking that back on today to go testing on Tuesday and Wednesday at Galot, and just move on from there.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. The very best of luck, and please pass our thanks on to the Steiner organisation. They are doing a wonderful, wonderful job of supporting my favourite class in drag racing. So it's very cool for them to be stepping up all over, and we look forward to seeing you bring home that Wally.
I appreciate it. We're trying. I would love to get one this year, and one of these days, I could tell the crew, we're going to screw up and win one of these things. So one of these days, it's going to happen. We've made semifinals galore, but I've never made it to the final in a Pro Mod event. So that's the next step.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, mate. Have a great day.
Thank you.